Friends, I've said this before in this series that there's something interesting that is going to happen in heaven. But probably just let me zoom in into this particular thing that is going to happen in heaven. Imagine a time when you're a child, and probably, okay, this happened for me. I had trouble fitting in. I was the smallest kid in the block. Couldn't play ball well. I was crappy at it, and I just wanted to have fun with friends. And so every time they have team selections, I would always be the liability to be chosen last. It happens in movies, but it happens in real life, and it has happened to me so many times. But I remember this particular moment when I wasn't picked, and I felt so bad. I felt so bad. Seeing my friends have fun and having fun without me. Like, the only place that I could fit in was with the girls. The cheerleader. It was just so painful. I remember this particular moment, it was just so heavy that I went home crying. Couldn't hide my tears. And when my older sister saw me and said, "Kwani, what's wrong?" And I couldn't hold it. I don't think I explained myself well. One of those cries that you cry and you can't, you just can't express yourself. And she hugged me, she embraced me, she made me sit on her lap. And she embraced me, and as I was crying, she was wiping tears away from my eyes with her sweater. I don't know what happened, but that made me cry even more. I cried, I wept. I wept, and the more I wept, she was wiping it. Snot was coming out, and she was still wiping it. I was a bit small. Don't think she can do that now. But you get the picture, and it was so comforting, so comforting. Imagine the comfort of having your tears wiped away. And you see, when someone loves you, rather cares about you, the best they can do is wipe tears away from your eyes. And snot, maybe not so much, but tears, yes. Someone who loves you a bit more, mother love, sister love, probably snot, yes. But it gets to places where it's just so devastating that wiping becomes a problem. That you just hand them a cloth or a handkerchief to wipe it off themselves. But God is going to wipe it all. Every pain we ever experience is going to wipe it at the gates of heaven. And we're going to experience comfort like no other, because that comfort never ends, imagine. And there's never going to be a time you're going to cry again, because it is over. It is the end of crying. It is the end of it all. And so that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. And it's interesting because I found this particular Psalm chapter 142. And it says, I'm going to read through, of course. I cry out to the Lord. I lift up my voice to the Lord for mercy. I pour out my complaint before him, before I tell him my trouble. Listen, in other words, I cry to God. I weep to God. I open up my heart, even in words that I cannot even probably say well. You know how you cry deep pain type of cries, and you can't even express yourself why you're hurting. That level of crying. The psalmist says, I cry out to the Lord. I lift up my voice to the Lord for mercy. Okay? 2, verse 2, very important. I pour out my complaint before I rant. I vent to him before I tell him my trouble. Listen, by the way, this psalm was written by someone in a cave, of David. When David was in a cave, fearing for his life, of course, escaping the enemy. I don't know if it was Absalom or Saul, but he was in a cave. That is what the pretext is telling us. Verse 3, when my spirit grows faint within me, it is you who knows my way. In the path where I walk, men have hidden a snare for me, Look to my right and see. No one is concerned for me. No one cares about me. I have no refuge. No one cares for my life. These are deep, deep words to say. I believe most of the times when we are in pain, we end up saying things in our crying that are very heavy. Say like, especially emotional and all that, we end up saying things that are very heavy, things that have potential to break relationships, to change the courses of life when we are emotional and in such levels of despair and pain. And this guy is also saying the same. Look to my right and see. No one is concerned for me. I have no refuge. No one cares for my life. Could be true, but chances are it is just an emotional rant to the Father. Verse 5, I cry to you, O Lord. I say, you are my refuge, my portion in the land of the living. Listen to my cry, for I am in desperate need. Rescue me for those who pursue me, for they are too strong for me. Set me free from my prison, that I may praise your name. Then the righteous will gather around me because of your goodness to me. Hallelujah. Come on. Listen, cry your way out. In this particular chapter, it doesn't matter what the frame of your words are. Just cry your way out. Cry to God. Cry to God. Cry to Him. Because He's the only one who you can be assured that He genuinely cares for you. In particular moments of our life, probably the people who are closest to us may not care for us as much as we think, or rather as much as we expect them to. And in those particular moments, it becomes evident that it can be very clear that we are might not be as significant to other people. It happens. But in those particular, or rather, all through every season of life, you are assured of this one thing, that God does really care for you. God does love you. And so when you are venting and ranting, please cry it out. Cry it out. But cry to God. And as chapter 1, verse 1 said, cry to God for mercy. It's okay. Pour out your complaint. Pour out your ventings to Him, even before you tell Him your trouble, rather the trouble that you are in. But have that emotional upheaval. Have that emotional release to God, in the arms of God, because you know He loves you. Because you know He loves you. Hurt a child and immediately they will rush to the mom. Because they know that despite of what I have done, despite of the mistake that I may have done, mom will hug me and embrace me first. Well, it depends on who your mother is. African parents have probably different testimony. It is the punishment first, then the comforting later. But ideally, you are sure that this person really does love you. And so when we look to God, as verse 5 will say, I cry to you, O Lord. I say, you are my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Love God beyond and in spite. Beyond your pain, beyond love Him more, because you know He is your portion in the land of the living. So friend, cry it out. It's healthy. It is. Even probably not for what you have read, but tears are the soap of the soul. Yeah. So cry it out. Cry to God. Cry to God. Cry your way through. And at the end of the story, verse 7 will say, set me free from my prison, that I may praise your name. Then the righteous will gather around me because of your goodness.